Hey guys, it's Mark Holthe here, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, jumping on another EE Live Q&A. Today, I'm running about 5 hours behind. And when you're a one-man show, sometimes this happens. I'm sure I've got a ton of very disappointed people who are expecting the EE Live Q&A to happen at noon Mountain Standard Time, which is probably well, in some parts of the country, like India and Pakistan, it's midnight or 12:30. And so my sincerest apologies for not being able to go live at that time. Sometimes it happens. And the reality was today, I had a friend who dropped by my office that needed some pretty significant help. And so I had to make the executive decision that I wasn't going to do this live broadcast at noon and just do it as soon as I could. And so basically, after dealing with some pretty significant issues for a friend, I'm back. And I apologize to everybody out there. But the reality is family, friends, your faith, those things are 110% the most important thing in my life, and I know in many of yours. So I'm sure most people understand, but I do want to just apologize sincerely for not being able to go live when I was planning on doing it. Now, with that being said, we'll see who tunes in. Those of you guys who are watching this live right now, that is being broadcast on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook group or Facebook page, I'm going to reward you, and I will be answering listener questions right from the beginning. And obviously, the key here with these Express Entry Live Q&As is that they're focused on Express Entry. But for those who are listening, I will open it up to any immigration-related question. And so just to show you guys that I'm not a one-hit wonder, Express Entry is not the only thing that I know. There are things that I don't have as much expertise in. And for those, I refer to my other immigration lawyers across the country that specialize in those areas. But for those of you who are tuning in and watching, I want you to know that, and you can just give me a thumbs up if if you can hear me okay. But those of you who are tuning in, I'm going to take some time to actually answer your questions. So I can see a bunch of people now are starting to post. Chris says, you're great. Thanks, Chris. Vipin says, are there any chances of Sierra going down below 450 by the end of the year? Vipin, I'm probably going to say I doubt it. But anything can happen. Who thought it was going to go down to 438 earlier this year? So anything can happen. Med says, hello, Mark. Hi. Thoda says, how long does it take for OINP once it reaches decision in progress? That is one Thota that is also out there. It could be a couple months. It could be longer. The processing times are not very clear in terms of each of the stages of the OINP processing. Abdi says, hi from Slave Lake. Hello, my friend. And Med says, hearing you very well. Great. You remember a couple episodes back, I forgot to adjust the audio when I was showing a video, and then the video played and I was blocked out from anyone being able to hear. So while we wait for other people to tune in, as always, post in the comments where you're listening from, because I love to give people a shout out when they're tuning in from all over the world. And like I said, I was late posting, so some of the faithful people are probably wondering, Mark, what are you doing? Why are you not here? And so those of you who are tuning in, please let me know where you're listening from, because I love to hear where that is. So you can see here, I've got a little bit of a different banner here below. And the reason I have that is because for many of you that have subscribed to the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide that I created, my very first course, and I also want to say that I am days away, well, hopefully, maybe even today, I will have my second course created, which is geared towards employers, and it's to teach them how to do a labor market impact assessment. And that's the job offer that all of you guys need. So I'm going to alter one individual course with one business-related immigration course, one for individuals, one for companies, and I intend to build out my whole Canadian Immigration Institute chock full of do-it-yourself guides. with every type of immigration application that is most commonly asked by my clients. Okay, let's take a look and see who's here tuning in. Kacking says hello from the Philippines. Hello, Martha. Oh, here you are. Yes, here I am, Martha. Let's see who else we have here. We've got Z, Dubai. Ashish says hello. Hi, Ashish. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Muhammad is Sri Lanka. Med is listening from Victoria. Awesome. Med, I think I probably mentioned I was destined to go out and hike the West Coast Trail on Vancouver Island, which is just the other side of the island and a little up from you. But I got sick, and that's what's thrown everything upside down, and it happens sometimes. So I had to have emergency gallbladder surgery, and if any of you have had an organ removed, you'll know how I feel. So it's been a little bit of a battle recovering, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I'm back and chipper, and thanks for all of your good well wishes over the last couple weeks or so. All right, let's see here. Najib is from Nairobi. Very cool. Kenya. Awesome. Shazad is London, I think. Mohammed, Sri Lanka. Let's see. Raj is listening from Surrey. And we'll get to some questions for answering some questions for you, Raj, in just a little bit. Nicole is Barbados. Cool. Ramanpreet says chance of 458. It's possible. It's possible. Thoda's in the US. Cool. Ashish is in Brampton. Martha's in Pennsylvania. Awesome. Great, guys. And Omo is tuning in from Nigeria. So that's awesome. Okay. So I want to show you just one thing that I am finally super excited about. And remember, I'm pretty much a one-man show, but fortunately, I do have now engaged someone locally here to help me a little bit with my websites. Now, it's a work in progress. I call it beta version 1, but right here you'll see, I'm not sure if I can even click the link, probably not. Right here at the bottom is the link to my new site. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen in just a second here, if I can. I'm going to pull up what I am showing you guys here. So let's shift my screen. Okay, there we go. You can kind of see it a little bit. And so I'm going to punch in that link that that I've got there at the bottom of my screen that you guys can see. And I think we should be okay. And this here, and I think I'm going to delete that. I'm going to get rid of it just so that it's not blocking the view of everybody. There, it's gone. Okay, so then I'll go back to here. And this here is the new site that I'm super excited about. So this is the home of the Canadian Immigration Institute. And I'm trying to centralize all of the things that I'm doing. Now, I don't have everything, but you guys can access it by going to the Canadian Immigration Institute. You can see here the link adds on my Kajabi. Well, I haven't quite got it set up on the Canadian Immigration Institute domain, but it's being directed here, and we are going to get set up. But you can see here, it is a source of all of the various information that I intend to create. And so there's a little bit of an introduction here. I have a little intro video that I created, and it's full of step-by-step guides. The guides are going to be built out based on what you guys want. So LMIA was the one I just created, and I actually intend to create, which is half done, my study permit, because lots of people are having issues with their study permits. And if I can just give you a couple tips or strategies for making sure that your first application is the strongest, you're going to have a far better chance of success than trying to refile after you forgot to include something or didn't know that it was important to include something important for a study permit. And so I'm going to be creating a course for that, all super affordable. So it's not super expensive. All right. And then podcasts, I think some of you know, if I click on here, you can listen in and it will take you straight to my Canadian Immigration podcast. Now, it's been a couple months since I last did one. So this, if you're wondering about how the Canadian health system works, this podcast is really good. And so it was put on by Jason Cummings, who owns a company that provides health insurance to individuals in Canada, private, until they're able to obtain coverage through the various health plans across each province. And so that is my for the podcast. And then here's an easy link, because lots of people are, how do we contact Mark? How do we reach him? And basically this link takes you to the consult page on my firm website, which is great. So you can just click on that. And then here is where all the guides will be hosted. And right now you can see the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide is right here. And you can click on Learn More. And this is where I have a ton of information all about the course that explains it. I've got some of my video testimonials right here, and just a bunch of information explaining why I created it and the whole purpose of it. And for all intents and purposes, the reason I created this course is the same reason why I'm trying to complete all of the others as well. So you can click on here to purchase the guide. And then when you get here, we actually have two options. So there's the monthly access and then the lifetime access. And just like the other course, those of you faithful folks who are members of you've liked the Canadian Immigration Institute page, and those who are members of my Express Entry Law private Facebook group, if you click on Purchase Guide right here you'll see is the coupon code. And if you type in EEDIY 50, and you click on complete purchase, you apply, when you click apply, then it drops it 50% off. And that is something that I offer to all of the followers, even you guys out there in YouTube that are members of the Canadian Immigration Institute subscribers, the YouTube channel. So that's something to the people who follow. And if you don't watch the videos and you don't follow it, you won't know about it. And so thanks for tuning in and watching it. So you can see there's the DIY guides. My most current podcasts and blog posts will be here. Those of you who are wondering, well, you should all, if you're watching on the Canadian Immigration Institute, know about the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. And this is where you can you can log in and you can ask questions, and it's this big, massive community. Ironically, and thanks, Mauricia, for sharing this. You rule. You are so awesome. So people that are watching it can now see it within the Express Entry Law private Facebook group as well. But here you can ask questions, and you'll see here that we have right now 124,083 members, and this goes up and down. Well, I've since learned that many people who've gone on through the site, benefited from it, become alumni. And what I mean by alumni is they become permanent residents of Canada, then they no longer have use for it. So although initially it grew to a point, now it's kind of leveled off, there's a lot of people that are really not contributing or participating in the group. And so I've learned that Facebook actually punishes me for that. So over the next little while, those who are not actually participating or contributing, you're actually keeping my posts from getting to all the other people that are in the group. So what I'm planning on doing is actually going through and culling out tons of people that are not engaged to get the group down to a size that is actually manageable and those that are interacting. And I think it's actually going to create a better product. So although we had our high where we were just about up to 125,000, the reality is numbers aren't important. What's important is that the people who need information, who need help, are actually getting it. And myself, I'm looking here in the near future to making some changes that will help me to be able to be more engaged with all of you here. All right, so that is another little link. And those of you who haven't subscribed to the Express Entry Law private Facebook group, please do so. And remember, answer the questions asked, because if you don't answer the questions, then I think you're just some bot, and I don't allow you into the group. Okay, and then there's a section here. Many of you wonder, well, who is Mark? What's he all about? This is where you can go, who I really am. And then, of course, there's other sections. You know, as a Canadian immigration lawyer, I'm heavily involved with our National Canadian Bar Association. And I'll just show you guys CBA, National Immigration, we'll say Executive. All caps, it reads it anyways. So right now I have the pleasure of serving as the secretary within the group. So if you click on here, you can see the executive. This is the national section. There I am right here as the secretary. And actually next, here in a couple weeks, I will be jumping up to take Ravi's position as the vice chair. Ravi will become the chair, And then next year, I will have my opportunity to be the head of the Canadian Bar Association's National Immigration Section, which is really cool because I have an opportunity to connect with the government officials in Ottawa to contribute to the advancement of immigration policy and law in the country, and just generally advocate. And not just for the other lawyers that are the members of the Canadian Bar Association, but to advocate for all of you, including levels planning, how many immigrants we take in, and just virtually every aspect of immigration. So that is, guess how much I get paid for that? Oh, this is my favorite. This is where there's a listener opportunity. So I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer. This is the head entity for the Canadian Bar Association's immigration section. So my question to you is, and you can post it here, okay? How much money do you think I'm paid, we'll say in a year, to serve on this prestigious executive? Now, I say prestigious lightly, but it's pretty cool. It's a great opportunity. It's an elected position by my fellow colleagues. But how much do you think I get paid? I want you to post it in the comments for everybody to see. How much do you think Mark Holthe? How much do you think Marina Sadai, Ravi Jain, Roxanne Israel, BJ Caruso? How much do you think us that are table officers get paid? Just post it in the comments, because this I got to see. I want to see what you guys think. What do you think is a fair wage for doing that? Majid, great. I understand you need a job. That's awesome. Many people do. You hang tight, Majid, and I'll show you a few suggestions that I can give you. Okay, but in the interim, I'm just waiting for the comments to come in. I want you guys to guess, how much do you think in Canadian dollars I make a year serving in this position? Chris, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. Chris just spoiled it for everybody. Elder, he also spoiled it. Oh, everybody's got it. I thought you guys for sure. Oh, there we go. Vipin. Yes. I wish it was 100,000 plus, Vipin. That would be so awesome. It would be the greatest job ever. But unfortunately, the answer, G-San says 400,000. Oh my goodness, that would be so awesome. And Samrat, once again, hits it dead on the head. He said you get paid zero, might be reimbursement of expenses. That is exactly correct. Exactly correct. The reality is the position for when I have to travel to Ottawa, my flights, Brooke. That's awesome. Let me introduce you guys to Brooke. So Out of Sight Online, Administrative Services, right there. You can see Brooke. She's one of the commenters who put zero there. Brooke is the mastermind behind my Canadian Immigration Institute. She has devoted so many hours to try to transition from my Teachable site to my Canadian Immigration Institute, this site right here. So she's the one that's helped to create all of this, and she's awesome. So shout out to Brooke, and yes. So I did. Everybody's got that. That's awesome. So the reality is, yes, when I'm serving on this, we don't get paid, but you have no idea the satisfaction that it gives and the privilege that it is to serve. And it is one of the highlights of my career to have the opportunity to work with these awesome immigration lawyers, and not just them, the other 1,000, plus members that are Canadian immigration lawyers across the country. So this is super fun. And I've had a lot of different opportunities. If I slide down here, there's a lot of different opportunities I've had to interact with media about government programs. I'm just in the process of organizing a seminar for the immigration lawyers in the province of Alberta, where I live. And I've done that 3 previous times, and we're now getting ready to do another one. And so these kinds of things are what really gives me unbelievable satisfaction, just teaching people how to do it, which obviously you guys can see I've got a passion for. And then I have a little bit of an overview for individuals in permanent residence, and I try to be transparent. So explaining, my basic standard fee structure when I'm supporting people with their permanent residence. Now, it's not always exactly in this line, but that's just to give people an idea of the options. Document review, a full review of the whole application, which which I love doing for express entry, and then full representation. And these are all in Canadian dollars. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to introduce you guys to this site. Like I said, everything here is available. I have, as far as my services, they're also listed here a little bit. One of the cool things that I love doing the most is consultations. So I love doing consultations, and you can book those, and we do them via Skype. So what you see right now is exactly what you see when you book a consult. Me on the other side of this computer. There's nothing fancy about it. It is me, and then I can share my screen just like I'm doing right now. And it's a wonderful way. In fact, I think it's almost better than being in person, because you can share your documents with me, and we can look at things together. Heck, I can even go in and help draft letters of explanation right in front of you, and we can work on things collaboratively, which is the part I love most. And then I just want to emphasize to everybody that we do immigration for individuals and families. It doesn't matter what it is. I can help you with anything. And then finally, full business immigration support. So as many of you know, I act for large multinational companies all over the world. We provide assistance with moving their workers into Canada, and I have a really, really fun business practice. And when I started my practice, it was exclusively business. It was all I did. But the reality is I loved working with individuals so much that I could not do it. So I added that. Now it added a little bit more involvement, but the reality is I just love doing it. And then finally, this is what I want every single one of my clients to understand. I am, and the members of my firm are trusted advisors. So when things go wrong, usually, we're the ones, then that's the time that you call a lawyer, right? It's when things kind of go south. So the whole purpose of setting this up and designing this is all to make sure that people know where to find all of the information that I'm sharing. So there's a whole bunch of comments that I kind of bypassed. And so Jay Zen says, what was the website again? DIY Express Entry? Sorry, you can just go to the Canadian Immigration Institute website. And from there, you have the ability to, and let me just pull this up if I can. I'll stick it right up there. There's the link to the actual website. And then once you're here, when you click on that and you get here, then all you have to do, and I'm going to go back to the main site here, is you can go to the DIY guides, and then you can just follow the links right here to the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide. And don't forget, and maybe I'll just post it in the comments here, DIY 50. That's all it takes. And if you use that link or that code, I should say, then you'll have the opportunity to get lifetime access right here. And if you punch in the code, which is right here, DIY50, and apply it, then all you have to pay is $248.50 US for lifetime access to the course. And yeah, it's chock full of everything that you need to know to file your own application. All right. There we go, guys. I have spent enough time sharing everything that I've got going on right now. Do check this out, really do. And I'm going to leave that on there just for the time being for those who want to click on it and bookmark it. There's also, I should have told you, there's a link there that's laid out throughout the actual page. If I go back to it right here, and I go back to the actual page, you can see throughout it, there is, I'm still navigating my way through it. There is a section where you can join my list and get notifications. So if there's changes, if there's special promotions, if there's offers, if there's just information I want you to know, changes in the, in everything that the government is doing that I think might be important to you, you can subscribe to this and get right into my my listserv. All right. So pretty excited about this. This is good stuff. Good stuff. Now, as always, those of you awesome people that were so patient and have waited, you now will get your questions answered. And remember, I'm opening this up not just to Express Entry, but to pretty much everything. And I am going to get rid of that now. Any question you have related to immigration, I will do my very best to answer it. And if I don't know the answer, well, I'll tell you. And I'll try to direct you to someone that I trust that actually is more of an expert than I am in that particular area. For example, I don't do any inbound immigration to Quebec, except high-level business immigration that doesn't require direct access to the Quebec immigration departments. But I've got an awesome law firm, good friends that I refer work to in Quebec. And so that's really what it's about. Okay, so Raj says, all right, please answer the question. So Raj, I want you to post it again, okay, my friend? And then I'll go through and I'll answer the questions. Okay, so Raj here says, please answer the question. What I want you guys to do is to repost your questions, and I will now start following them all the way straight down, starting with Raj. Nelson says, hi, Mark, watching from Colombia, South America. Awesome. Do you know what? I'll tell you something, Nelson. One of my best friends, Curtis, is getting married to a lovely, wonderful woman who lives in Lima, Peru. And he has been working on me nonstop to try to go down to his wedding down in Peru. And normally I would absolutely love to do it. But my daughter, his wedding's on the 5th, and my daughter's coming home from her mission. I have not seen her in a year and a half, on October the 9th. And I also need to then send her down back to school in the US a couple weeks later. And I told him, I don't have the money to be able to do that. And I said, if there is by some chance a whole bunch of people that purchase my Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide this month, that I can afford the flight to go down and to help get my daughter reset up in school, because Canadian conversion to US dollars sucks. And I said, then maybe I'll be able to consider it. But I also have a conference that I'm actually speaking at in Montreal on Express Entry for the Quebec-based immigration lawyers. That is happening the following week in October. And then I have another conference for the Canadian CBOC. I can't remember what it stands for. It's basically the business research kind of organization that has conferences all across Canada, and it's in Banff, Alberta. And so I've committed to go to that and then attend another conference that's in Banff. And wow, guys. And then this new Legal Education Society of Alberta, I've got so much going on and a little bit of time to do it. So I don't know if I'll be going down to Lima, Peru. Okay, let's see what we've got here. So Rura says, hello, sir. I hope you and your family are fine. Oh, thanks so much, Rura. I appreciate that. Okay, Visha says, hi, Mr. Holthe. Is it normal for eligibility to go from requires review back to in progress after 2 weeks? It actually is. And both updates were given by call center agents. Yeah, it is. Because what is a requires review? Well, that's like a secondary level review. So something in your application, the main intake officer needed to take a little bit more time to look into something else about your application that they weren't able to accept just at its face value. So they had to do a little bit more investigation or whatever. And then when it's done, if it's accepted and it's all good, then it's back to in progress. So Visha, that's a good thing, actually. You're getting closer. Okay. Okay. Med says, I submitted my EE profile lately 2 times and get rejected. Oh, what? Okay, Med, let's take some time, okay? Because Med asked this question, it's an important one. We're going to shift back to my screen, and I'm going to show you guys something here. So in here, there is a tool which I have not, I haven't used for a long time. It's called Come to Canada tool, and then immigration. So if you search that Come to Canada tool, immigration, right here, and I haven't gone to this for a long time. When you're dealing with eligibility, Med, this is really what the issue is. So I think everybody can see. I'm going to copy this link, and I'm going to paste it into the comment section. And then I'm going to show you. We're going to go through this, okay? So check your eligibility. You're going to go down here, and you're going to click on this. And you all can do this, all right? So find out if you're eligible to apply, okay? So which province or territory do you plan to live in? It does not matter. I'll just choose Alberta because whatever. Then I'll go next. Then Canada's official languages. Do you need to submit an official language? Which language test did you take? Most of you, it will be IELTS, okay? And I'm not sure, Med, what your issue is, and I've got detailed videos with this in my course as well. If you subscribe to it, there's a whole section devoted to eligibility. What date did you take this test? Okay, the test can't be older than 2 years. So you'll see here, if I put 2017 and I take it to, we'll say May 1st, well, that's over 2 years, and I click next, look at this. Oh, what date did you take this test? May 1st, 2017. Next, you can see the error. It says this doesn't work. Your test results must be less than 2 years old when you apply. So fine. So we'll just shift this to 2019 and we'll continue. And lo and behold, it lets you proceed. Okay, the next thing, find out if you're eligible. So enter your test scores. So you guys will remember that you have to meet at least a CLB 6. So if I put, for example, 6 in all of these, and then I put a 5.5 for writing, and I click next, well, what's going on here? Oh, I remember, because it's still trying to assess under the Canadian Experience class. So under the Canadian Experience class, technically, you actually can qualify with a CLB of 5 if you are applying through a skill level B category. So without getting into it, that's good enough. So we'll proceed forward. Have you taken another test? Most of you know. So then we'll go next. Okay, in the last 3 years, how many skilled work experience in Canada do you have? Watch what happens when I put none. So I put none here. If you do not have any Canadian work experience during this period, then you're just going to put none of the above for which NOC code you're in. Now watch this. If I click next, okay, it's still taking it. I actually thought it would screen me out. Okay, well, that's fine. Find out if you're eligible to apply. Okay, the last 10 years, how many years of skilled work experience do you have? This actually, I can never quite figure out why they ask it this way. It should be how many years of skilled work experience outside Canada do you have? But we're going to just put it in. So we'll say 1 year, because ultimately that's the minimum, right? And then they ask if you have any experience in trades. This is to determine if you might qualify through, and this is really the reality. Maybe this is the next level. Do you qualify through the Federal Skilled Trade Program? So if we say none, okay, now maybe it will block it out and say you don't qualify. Nope, still doesn't. Okay, we'll still keep going. How much money in Canadian dollars will you bring? So we'll say I'm going to bring less than 12,000. How many family members do you have? 1. So this should, you can see less than 12,669 is not enough settlement funds. So I'm not sure, Med, if that's the issue for you, but if it's 1 person, then you have to have that much. But if I put 2, hopefully this now will trigger it, and I click next. Wow, it's still accepting it. This tool is stupider than I thought. Okay, maybe you guys shouldn't actually rely on this tool. Do you have a valid job offer in Canada? Oh, okay, this is why I didn't check it off. If you did, then settlement funds are not required. So I'm going to say no. So maybe now, let's see. It still lets me. Are you currently working legally in Canada? Okay, we'll say, no, I'm not. Okay, maybe now. Okay, finally, you can see here. This is hilarious, you guys. Oh my goodness. So based on your answers, you do not appear to be eligible for express entry. So obviously all of the things that I answered there ultimately resulted in the wizard saying, no, you don't qualify. So, oh my goodness, that was so funny. I don't think I can go back and fix the questions. So with the, we could spend all day kind of playing with this, and it's the Come to Canada tool immigration. So if you're wondering about your eligibility, you can't trust this thing 100%. But if you're wondering about your eligibility, what are some of the reasons that you can't qualify? Well, I'm just going to get out of the screen. One of the main reasons when you're entering in the information, if you're outside of Canada and you don't have a job offer, is often because your proof of funds that you've listed is lower than the amount. I'm going to get a drink. Is lower than the amount that you actually need for settlement. Or maybe your work experience that you have Maybe you don't have a full year of work experience. Or I'm just trying to think of like I said, your language test results have expired. So there's a bunch of other things that could play into it, Med, but the reality is if you're still stuck, then guess what? Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to click right here. I want you to book a consult and we can go through it and I can tell you exactly what you need to do or why it is that you're ineligible from any of the programs. Okay? All right. Okay. Let's continue forward here now. Okay, Kelly says, my CRS score is 400 with my spouse. I only have an aunt in Ottawa as a relative. IELTS was 7 in every area. NOC is A. Occupation is in education. What do you think is the best route or PNP I can access to be successful for an ITA? Okay, Kelly, this is another example where I'm going to point you right back here. So without having the ability to actually go through, review everything, review and have you a chance to actually talk to you, it's impossible for me to tell you which PNPs might be the best ones to go through. Teaching occupations, early childhood education, yes, is something. But when it comes to secondary teacher or even primary, it's a different NOC code. And so lots of teachers will try to fit under the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominees Program's early childhood education options, but that wouldn't work for you. And in many provinces, education is not an occupation in demand. So it becomes challenging, Kelly. But if you want to book a consult, I'm more than happy to go through everything with you. Okay, Mohammed says, hi Mark, why do applications take over 6 months? When I called IRCC, I was told my criminality was recommended pass. What does this mean? Does application become ignored or dormant? If so, is there a way to reinitiate it? Okay, so the rule is 80% of the applications, their target is to process those in under 6 months. So there's no guarantee that your application is guaranteed to be 6 months. If at any stage of the process, they had to send it to, as I scroll up here to the other question, if it goes back to requires review, that secondary or higher level review, then that can cause your application to fall out of the 6-month processing. If they've had to do any requests for additional information from you, if you've updated your file with any new information through the case-specific inquiry, that can also cause delays. So there is no knowing for certain. If your application is in the queue for a year and no forward movement, then that's an issue. Then in those circumstances, you're going to request an access to information or the GCMS notes. And from there, you're going to actually try to get the visa office or your immigration file note so that you can see exactly what's going on. And the officers will put their notes and comments in there. So, but yeah, 6 months is not a guarantee for anyone. Okay, Raj says November 14th, EE profile submitted. Eligibility, criminality, security clear. Then why it's taking so long now? Days to get the PR mail. Okay, you're definitely in the upper side of processing, clearly, with the November EE profile. And I'm assuming that what you mean for November was, I'm assuming your EAPR when you filed your electronic application for permanent residence, because Raj, if you're just talking about a profile, which of course you're not, it starts that 6 months from the date you submit your EAPR. So that's, as far as timing, it's really, really impossible to say. I can't, without doing a GCMS notes, it's really tough to know, Raj. Okay. Sorry, I cannot be of more help, but that's what I'd recommend. The same for you as Mohammed. If you're stuck, you're wondering why it's not moving, then I would do GCMS notes and try to take a look and see. And sometimes within those notes, you'll be given tips as to what the officer is keying in on. So if it says review required, well, usually it will say for that particular document. Maybe it's your work history, which is very often the case that where they require review. Okay, so the next one is I, and he says, or A, we'll see how, as far as the pronunciation, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. He says, I have my PR here in Canada and was wondering which one is faster, either to sponsor my wife, who also schooled here in Toronto and is on a postgrad work permit and works with TD. Great. I bank with TD for my 3B Energy solar company I have. We've got our account with TD. So he says, works with TD now, or for her to do express entry. Okay, so I can tell you it depends on what her position with TD is. TD ain't supporting her application. Like, they might give her a reference letter. If she's working as a bank teller, you have to make sure that the position she's working in is skilled. But in every case, I'm going to look to see what her comprehensive ranking system score is. If it's high enough, express entry is going to be faster. The processing times that are stated, like I said, are about 6 months for 80% of the applications for express entry. For a spousal, it's about 12 months, a year. So it really comes down to that. At the end of the day, it just depends on a number of different circumstances, and probably, how strong your spousal application would be. So a lot of different factors to look at. And as always, I'm available for a consult if you need any direction or guidance. All right, Martha says, the work experience I'm claiming for express entry is from my time in Brazil. Muito bom. Okay. The company actually gave me the reference letter in English since it is part of a multinational group. Would the fact that the letter is not in the employer native language be a problem? Martha, you've answered your question. Não vai ser problema nenhum. It won't be a problem at all. The reality is, when you have a multinational company that has offices all over the world, the global mobility people, the HR managers, they are sophisticated and they are used to issuing documents in the language of the country that's receiving them. So I would have no issues, Martha. Yeah, not at all. Not at all. All right. Boa sorte, as I say in Portugal, boa sorte for you in Brazil. Take care. Okay, Rosie says, my husband is a U.S. citizen. Okay, sorry, okay, so we're talking in third person here, I guess. Husband is a U.S. citizen. Wife, maybe that's second person. I don't even know that. Husband is U.S. citizen. Wife is not. Husband is an architect. NAFTA protected job. Can wife travel with husband for his job in Canada? The answer, Rosie, is maybe. So if your husband has, and I do a ton of NAFTA work permits for architects. There's a massive architectural company in the US that has been a long-standing client of mine for 15 years. And I do tons of these architect work permits. And sometimes when they actually relocate to Canada, absolutely. In fact, you can get an open work permit to work wherever you like, Rosie. So if you want further details or you need any assistance with that, if the company who's transferring you or your husband into Canada is leaving, is only taking care of the employer, your husband's work permit, I'm more than happy to help you with getting an open work permit under one of these spousal work permit programs. All right. Visha says, thank you. You're very welcome. Okay. Manpreet here. Great. Thanks for saying your name, Manpreet, because I'm not very good at the native script here that I have. I'm not sure what language that is, but anyways, Manpreet says, I applied. Okay, so we've got another applicant. He got his AOR on May the 3rd. Medicals, biometrics are updated June 20th, but still background check shows that we are processing your application. We will message you when we start your background check. Can you tell at what stage my application is? Also tell, can I apply closed work permit along with express entry because I have a nomination certificate? What's the processing time of closed work permit applications? You got a lot of questions in there, my friend. To start with, June 30th, dude, your application is still well within the processing times. Some people get all hung up over the different stages that they're at. Understand, and I'll repeat this over and over, the stages for which you pass through are not always a consistent time for every individual. So if one person gets through, medicals really quick, and it's taking you a long time to get your medical, doesn't mean that you're both not going to get your application processed in 6 months. The reality is, it depends on the officer. It depends on what they're looking at. And the ultimate goal is for the applications all to be processed in under 6 months. So they process at different speeds at different stages for different people. So I can't answer that one for you. Now, in terms of the closed work permit, when you file an express entry application, it looks here, you have a nomination certificate. So if it is closed, well, the reality is the bridging open work permit is available if you have your acknowledgement of receipt, which you have. But I wouldn't want to tell you exactly what's available and what isn't without really looking at that nomination certificate and just understanding a little bit more about your background, because I don't want to give you a green light and say, yeah, you can apply, and then for whatever reason, your nomination certificate has a restriction. Each province is different. Every one of them has a different looking certificate, and they even interpret their certificates different. So I can't give you direct advice on that one. As far as processing times, I'll show you guys where you can find the processing times. You go here to the government website, and it's pretty simple. I type in IRCC processing times, and then I click on check processing times canada.ca, and then it takes me to this site right here. And what are you applying for? Well, it's temporary residence, visiting, studying, or working. And then which application? It is a work permit, but it's really a work permit extension, even though it's a new one. And you can see, I just looked at it today I'm always looking at it. Online 98 days. And that's really basically the only option. The 121 days paper applications, they've stopped doing that. So only the applications submitted or received before March the 28th via paper will actually be processed via paper for these types of straightforward work permit applications. There are a few applications that you can still submit via paper, but the vast majority go electronically now. All right. Whew, there we go. Okay, A says, I have my PR here in Canada, and I've answered that one. Rura is laughing. Great. Nelson, what do officers look exactly in travel history section? Well, they want to see if you're not having a trip to the desert hills of Afghanistan for a desert safari. They're looking to see where you spend your time. What I'm hinting at is they want to make sure you're not an Al-Qaeda warrior. And generally speaking, that the information you're providing and where you're at is accurate. And so if you spend 6 months, and some people call it a holiday, in a country, so your travel history shows that you've actually spent 6 months in a different country, and you have not, and that's in a row, and you have not provided a police certificate for that time period, your application will get returned for being incomplete, for not providing a police certificate. So that's just one example. Med says, thanks for explaining. I will book one soon. You bet, Med. I will look out for you. Okay, Raj says, you missed my question again. Nope, I didn't. I answered it. Jason says, I'd book one too. See you, Mark. You bet. And please, guys, I don't want you to understand that I'm here just to promote people booking consults with me. That is not the purpose. If you feel good and you don't feel like you need that reassurance, then by all means, soldier forward. I don't want this to be a, hey, everyone who asks me a question, you should book a consult. That's not the case. Okay, and Kelly, of course, says, we'll reach out. Okay, Martha says here, there are a few documents that I need to have translated. Can documents from country A be translated in country B and the certified copies be done in country C? This is the detailed scenario. Well, I'm not going to go through, you got a massive little list of questions here, but the reality is it does not matter where it occurs or how it occurs as long as it meets these requirements. So let's go to the EE completeness check right here, and we'll open up this site, which gives a detailed overview of a number of things, including translation of documents, this section right here. I'm not going to copy it. I think everybody knows this site, where to find it. I'll post the link in the comment section as well. But this right here, translation of documents, these are the key things. And it can be really confusing, but I'm grateful, Martha, that you are identifying the need to have the copies as certified copies. So you can see here, the translation, check. That's by your translator. Affidavit from the person who completed the translation. That is saying, I am the translator and I swear that I translated this. It's a true translation of the original from the Brazilian language, and I've translated it into English to the best of my ability, whatever it is. But then most people will just kind of leave it at that, because the translation usually does include a copy of the original as well as the translation. But you can see here it says a certified photocopy of the original document. Because it's electronic, I always wonder about this. It's, a certified copy is one that is usually, it has a seal on it from the translator. It's stapled together, so you can't pull it apart and swap something else out. It's kind of locked in and confirmed. But when you're scanning it in, it kind of removes the original nature of it. So what you're looking for is on a copy of the original, a copy of it, remember, is that it says this, I certify this to be a true copy of the original document. And what that means is the person who certified it actually saw the original and is once again swearing to the fact that the original, the copy that they have really truly did come from the original. So there you go, Martha. Okay. All right. Tonmoy says, hi, I'm from the US, and I'll flip back here. This is way better doing this on the Canadian Immigration Institute's the business page, because I can see all your comments and it's way easier. Okay. Tonmoy says, hi, I'm from the US and I'm a student. Recently, I finished my MS in Information Assure. Excellent. Do I have any option to get express entry or any other options? Moreover, I've been living in the US for 7 years. Please let me know. Tonmoy, great question. I would need a whole lot more information, my friend. Masters, yes. What's your English? You would need at least a CLB level 9, which means 8 in listening and 7 in each of the other abilities, reading, speaking, writing. And then from there, how old are you? You probably don't want to be much more than 30 years old. If you start getting older, then you're not going to score high enough. Masters is great. Do you have 3 years at least of foreign work experience? So those are all of the things in a skilled, continuous paid job. Those are all the main highlighted points, Tonmoy, that you need now. Once again, if you want to do an assessment, I can go through everything with you. You can just book a consult. Okay, Rura, if it is impossible to have a letter of reference, what else can I provide to prove my work history? Okay, I have tons, and boy, let's see, I can't remember if I've got access. Give me a second. I'm going to test something out here within my course because I want to show you guys something. I've just never tried to access it straight up before like I did. Let me just see if I can find this. Dun, 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 dun. Bear with me. I'm not going to share my screen until I'm in because I've got a secret way to get in. Let's see if that works. I want to show you the actual course here. Okay, that didn't work. That didn't work either. Why is that not working? Don't know. Well, I was going to show you inside the course that I actually have a full video addressed to this exact question. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share my screen with you again, and we're going to look on the same page that I was just at. This time we're going to go to work. Oh, I guess I hit the wrong little button there. So on this page, I'm going to go to work experience. So the question is, what else can I provide to prove my work history? Rura, this is a huge issue. And immigration is ruthless. They've got so many people that want to qualify, that want to get through express entry. And if you come from a difficult situation where you can't prove your work history, they don't care. It's your responsibility to do it. And if you can't, then it's not their problem. They basically say, tough luck. So the starting point is, what are they asking for? So mandatory for each work experience. They ask you to provide a reference or experience letter. I'm going to enlarge this a little bit bigger so that everybody can see it well. I'm going to try to expand this out on my screen a bit so everybody can see it a little bit better. I know you're watching, most of you, on your handheld, and so it's not always easy to see. Okay, let's see if we can find. There's the translations of documents. Let's go back to work. And once again, my RAM is almost full. Okay, hopefully it doesn't crash on me. I'll cross my fingers and hope. Okay, there we go. We're back. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the work history here, and you can see, like I said, reference and experience letter. And this is what you need to focus on, okay, Rura? Job title, duties and responsibilities, job status, dates worked for the company, number of work hours per week, and annual salary plus benefits. So if this is the minimum that's required to be included in a reference letter, you have to find some way to prove that. So how do you prove duties and responsibilities? Well, do you have an initial hiring letter? Do you have is there some job description that was attached to your offer of employment when you first started working? Sometimes you have to, maybe you've got a supervisor that's with the company that's willing to write a separate letter to support your duties, or really any of these other things. Do you have a coworker that's still working there that worked with you that can attest or provide a sworn affidavit? Do you have maybe a coworker or a supervisor is no longer working with the company, but they can provide you with information? So you look at that. Dates worked for the company. Well, do you have pay stubs? Do you have income tax filings for your country where it shows the wages and the dates that you worked? In Canada, when you're terminated, there's a record of employment that the employer is mandated to provide you when you leave that employment. And then number of work hours per week, same thing. Do you have pay stubs? Other things to compensate for the fact you can't get the reference letter. And then, salary and benefits, once again, pay stubs, those kinds of things. All right. So that's kind of a high level, and really each person is different. So this is where, when I have my consults with people, we go through their unique circumstances, because the same piece of advice doesn't work for everyone. And sometimes in talking to clients, often that's where I get ideas, new ideas. Oh, have you thought about this based on your unique circumstance? And that's why consults are so effective. And it doesn't take a lot of time. Okay. All right. Let's see. I says, thank you. Mohammed says, thanks, Mark. And let's just turn that off there. Mohammed says, thanks, Mark. I have not crossed the 6-month mark. It was curious, since a lot of people keep going over this time. IRCC agent did mention my file was in order and they had everything they need. Great. You are on track, my friend. So just be patient. Hang in there. And I'm going to get another quick drink. I want to emphasize to you, Mohammed, that in the old days, so this is prior to January the 1st, 2015, our immigration programs were not based on express entry. So any of you that are eligible to submit an application into the pool would have been eligible to one day get permanent residence. But you can go and you can see how many people are in the pool. Actually, let's take a look while we're doing this. And this is a little sidetrack, a little tangent I'm going to get on, but I'm going to go EE rounds of invitations. I'm going to pull it up, and let's just take a look and see how many people are in the pool right now. So if we go through this and we take a look at the rounds, okay, and then we look at the stats right here. This is as of August the 2nd. So this, this has changed with our wonky little Monday draw we had. But if you look here, you can see just from 401 to 450, there's 38,000. From 351 to 400, there's another 42. 301 to 350, there's another 24, for a total of 116,006 people that are in the pool. That means that each one of these people would have been, in a prior life, eligible for permanent residence. Now, it doesn't say which ones of these are the Canadian Experience class. It doesn't say which ones of these are the Federal Skilled Trade. And that does cloud this a bit. But each year, and if we look at it, they're probably accepting between 70 to 80,000 immigrants under the economic programs. Now, how much are actually attributed to express entry? That fluctuates, there's changes, but generally that's it. Well, every person, if there's more people eligible to apply, and every single year, fewer than the exact number of people that apply are given permanent residence, what happens to the queue? This number grows. In fact, a number of years ago, this number here, well, not this number, but the total number of applications in the queue, I believe, was over 600,000. And guess what happens when you have 600,000 people in a queue all looking to immigrate to Canada under the Federal Skilled Worker Program? Well, processing times climb. And in some countries, processing times were 6 to 7 years or more. You'd be dead by the time you were eligible to immigrate to Canada and your application was approved. So they had to make a change, and that's why they shifted to express entry. So those of you who are complaining about, oh, my application's in the queue for 7 months, what's going on? There must be something wrong. Well, be grateful that it's not 7 years. All right. Okay, Sophia says, I have applied. Excuse me. Sophia says, I've applied for Saskatchewan since March with 64 points, but still waiting. Good luck, Sophia. Good luck. Nelson says, hey, Mark, what do officers look exactly in travel history? Already answered that one. Santhosh says, I have international experience of 1.5 years, which consists of 9 months with one employer and 8 months with another. And I have experience letter of both in CIC. Can I get points for 1 year international experience in express entry? Great question, Santhosh. This is actually opening up quite a few different possibilities. So I'm going to share my screen. This time I'm going to search temporary. Actually, I'm going to search Federal Skilled Worker Program eligibility. Let's see if we can find that one. Okay. So here is the link where it gives us information on what it takes to qualify under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. And the minimum requirements are what we're looking at here. So blah, 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 you have to have a skilled occupation in, 0A or B, which you have. I'm assuming, Santosh, that's what you have, that performs, all the activities in the lead statement and all the essential duties and most of the main duties. And so your skilled experience must be in the same type of job, okay? So that's the key right here. So your 9 months with one employer and 8 months with another employer has to be in the same type of job, essentially the same knock. But only for, and it has to be paid, it has to be within the last 10 years, but only to accumulate the first 1 year of continuous work. So 30 hours a week, a total of 1,560 hours in a year, one continuous year of work. You can use full-time at more than one job. So 30 hours per week for 12 months at more than one job. Basically what that means is, yes, you can use 2 different ones in the same year that kind of flow into each other, but the key for you is that they have to be continuous. If there was a break, then it's not going to fly. If you had a month off between the 2 positions, it's not going to work, okay? Because it has to be 1 year of continuous work. If it's not, the equation is over, the calculation is done, and you're not eligible. All right. Hosam says, hey. Hey, Hosam. All right. Okay. Roberto Perez says here, hi, I received a ready for visa email on June 10th, and I replied that I didn't have a mailing address in Canada or the US, and then I needed further instructions for submitting my documents to a nearby visa office. Then on June 11th, I got another email from IRCC asking my most recent address, to which I replied, informing them that my address was in Mexico City. Since then, I haven't received any email from IRCC. Is this delay normal? Thank you. Nope, it is not normal, Roberto. There should not be a delay of that length. In fact, you should have received some form of information that instructed you to go through one of the visa application centers in Mexico to collect your passport. Usually they would send it there or directly to your mailbox. Something in how you answered and provided your passport must have resulted in them thinking you were in Canada or the US. You haven't given me all the information here, but I can't really tell you how to fix this situation because I'm not sure how you got yourself into it. If you were in Mexico and living in Mexico and your address was in Mexico, all of the visa and the passport request would have gone through the VAC there, and then they would have submitted it on your behalf. But somehow you must have left Canada at some point. So Roberto, once again, all I can say is book a consult and we can look at it in more detail. Martha says, muito obrigada. Oh, de nada, minha amiga. Okay. Tanmoy says, thank you. Muhammad says, I have reading 9, listening 9, speaking 8.5, writing 7. Okay, great. That's at least CLB 9. Does it fall under CLB 10 or 11? Are these sufficient scores for language? Muhammad, you need to have at least a CLB 9. That's going to give you those maximized points. And lots of people ask this question. So if we go to the CRS criteria, the biggest issue that we have with the criteria is ensuring that, close this, we don't care about this, not the human capital factors, okay? When it comes to language, yes, you're going to get points for official language. And yes, every incremental increase in your IELTS scores will give you more of these 150 or 160 points. But the most critical aspect that you've already hit is going to the skill transferability points. Because without at least a CLB 9, which is 8 in listening and 7 in all the others, you're not going to get the same level of these points. So to get all 100 points, which is essential, you can see here, good language and a post-secondary degree, or foreign work experience, which is good language and foreign work experience. And if we go into this in a little bit more detail, we'll skip through this till we get to it. Okay, so here's the skill transferability. You'll see with CLB 9 and at least 2 or more, or a master's, you can get 50 points, or a doctoral. Okay, so as long as you have one of those 3, 50 points, that's great. Then you scroll down here, and then you go to the next level, which is foreign work experience. And this is usually what you guys are looking at. Once again, CLB 9 in language, plus 3 years or more foreign work experience gives you the other 50. So that's really what you're looking at. But then the next question is language conversion tables, EE, IRCC. Let's see if this pulls it up. Okay, so when you're matching it up, you can use this site, and I'll just copy it, although it's a long link. This is for you, Mohammed. When you go here, it basically gives you the conversion. So any CELPIP test that you write in Canada or overseas at one of the test places, whatever your scores are, that's what the CLB is. And so 9 is what you're looking at for everything. So you need a 9. And once you've reached a 10, well, you've maximized, and it's 10. You're not getting any more points. With the IELTS, you can see here, to get 9, here's your answer. 7 in reading, 7 in writing, 8 in listening, 7 in speaking. To get a CLB 10, 8 in reading. And so if you go for this, you've got a 9 in reading, great, you've got a 10. If for writing, you've got a 7, that's a 9. Listening, you have an 8.5, that's a 10. And speaking, you have you have a listening, you've got 9, and speaking, you've got 8.5. So that's all 10s. So that's kind of how we calculate it, right? And if you go back here, you'll see, let's go back to the language, and I'll show you this last little part here, okay? Basically, once you hit 10 or more, you're not getting any more points. So it doesn't matter whether you are CLB 10 or 11. It's irrelevant, all right? Whew, good question. Oh, and do you know what, guys? There's nothing quite like thinking I'm showing you and I'm not. Man, I'm such an idiot. I was on a roll there. Oh, I had so much good explanations. Okay, you can see anyways, Mohammed. I'll show you here again. It's so funny sometimes when oh boy. This is when you don't have a technical crew behind you. You can see here CLB 10 or CLB 11 is irrelevant. Once you reach that stage, you're maxed out with your points. And then as I was explaining with skill transferability, the most important part with skill transferability right here to get these extra 100 points is having a CLB 9. Then if you can reach a 10, it's gravy. Because with the 9, like I said, a 9 of language and at least 2 or more certificates, a master's, professional, or doctoral, you're getting 50 points. Okay, and then the other 50 points are coming because it's combined with your foreign work experience. So once again, CLB 9, 3 years of skilled work experience equals 50. All right. It's so funny when I don't know what I'm doing. Hey guys, you got Mark Holthe here. I'm just floundering around. We're actually having a really good time here. It's an hour and 9 minutes already we're going. Who out there in internet land that's an immigration lawyer is crazy enough to spend this much time just trying to teach people? Me, I guess. Okay. Whew, good stuff. Okay, Abu says, I'm in Canada and in study visa and wondering if I can start my business here. Oh, Abu, that's a great question. Okay, remember, study permit, you are authorized to work off campus. Okay, and you could potentially start a business, but one of the challenges you face, at least initially, is that you can't count self-employed work experience towards express entry. So your Canadian work experience, let's shift it here, and we're going to go to CEC eligibility. This is a really good question. And I've got lots of, I've got a really good friend and colleague, Jeffrey Lowe in BC. We've experimented with a lot of different configurations with this to see how we could make it work. And it's a long, drawn out explanation, Abu. But if you're looking at the minimum requirements here, you'll see, yes, you need at least 1 year of skilled work experience in the last 3 years. It doesn't have to be continuous. Your work experience has to be legal in Canada or it doesn't count. And if you scroll down here, at least I think it's still here, there's a special box right here. See? Self-employment and work experience gained while you were a full-time student, such as a co-op, work term doesn't count under this program. So, Abu, if you're thinking about doing that, there's something called an owner-operator labor market impact assessment that you can obtain. And this is a separate kind of discussion, and there are ways to kind of try and configure this. And we've worked through it. I'll show you the temporary foreign worker program. Once again, I'm not sharing my stupid screen. I'm such an idiot. Okay, here's the section. I should maybe just not shut it off and just leave it so I'm sharing my screen. So Canadian experience class, because this is Canadian work experience that you're gaining. And you can see here minimum requirements, like I said, 1 year and 3 years. It doesn't have to be continuous. But down here, self-employment, which would be you if you were a student starting your own business, and if you're on a full-time study permit, it does not count. So you can't count your Canadian work experience. So what we do is we go here and we go to the temporary foreign worker program, hire a temporary foreign worker, and then I go to higher low wage positions. And then I scroll down. Let's see if I can find it. High wage, because that's usually what it is. And then I go to proof of recruitment. I'm sorry. And if I can find it here, minimum recruitment. Let's see if I can find it. Job match methods. Nothing is easy to find if you're an employer, and that's why I created a step-by-step guide to labor market impact assessments. And I'm pretty stoked about it. It's pretty awesome. It's going to be released here shortly. Sorry, proof of advertisement. Finally, I found it. Variations. So these are different labor market impact assessments that are available without the company showing that they can't find a Canadian or permanent resident. In other words, posting advertisements. One on the list is right here, owner-operators. And so these are for business owners only. They're not intended for individuals receiving shares, like you get stock options in your company. To qualify, you as the owner-operator must demonstrate prior to submitting your application and for the duration of your employment in Canada that you have a controlling interest in the business. It has to be, you can see here, 50.1% of the shares, and that you cannot be dismissed. In other words, that you are the boss. So then once you've got it, then you file your application. So it's a long-term process because IRCC wants to see that you have submitted business taxes for that business. And most importantly, that you have created jobs for Canadian citizens. And it doesn't really stipulate that in any great detail. But if you are the only employee of your business, then it ain't going to work. So it's interesting, Abu, and we can talk once again via consult, the possibilities. So technically you can start a business while you're a student. You can work in it, you can set it up, you can hire other people. And we looked at franchises. And then if you've got 2 or 3 years, however long your studies take, to actually hire Canadians and show that you've got a track record of employing Canadians, then it may be possible to obtain a labor market impact assessment as an owner-operator, owning 50.1% of the shares. But then it becomes a little bit tricky when you're trying to satisfy the Canadian experience class. Right here, the Canadian experience. Oh no, where I'm at. Is this the Canadian experience class? Federal, whatever. We won't worry about that. Oh no, it's right here. Yeah, when you're trying to satisfy this, because remember, for this program, self-employed work experience doesn't work. And so are you self-employed if you own 50.1%? And this is the issue, right? So then you look at, okay, the work experience that I have, maybe I can't use that work experience to support a Canadian experience class application. Can I use it for the federal skilled worker program? And I know I'm going into great depth here talking about this, but it really depends. And that's all I can tell you, Abu, whether you can then use it to prove your skilled work experience. Because to qualify for the federal skilled worker program, you just need skilled work experience. So yeah, anyways, I'll stop there, but it's tricky, but understand it's far better if you actually have an employer that's employing you. Okay. Yurura says, thank you. I'm collecting every single paper, but it is really complicated. Yes, it is. Okay. Siddharth says, hi, I'm here in Canada. Last 2 years, I did postgraduate diploma and now doing a job as a gas station manager. My employer is not older than 1.5 years. I have experience in marketing, and I've also did graduation from back home. I'm 26. Suggest something good to get PR easily. Express entry, Siddharth, is the direction that you go. You said your employer is not older than 1.5 years. Well, okay, whatever. That's not necessarily a bar to being able to provide you with the job offer letter. You're on a postgrad, so you can't get any job offer points anyways. But the reference letter from your employer showing that you've paid, that you've been paid a wage, that you have remitted taxes, that at the end of the year you've got your T4 and notice of assessment, then all those things are factors that you look at. But for you, Siddharth, and also I'm looking here, I don't know which province you live in, so that's about as far as I can go. So once again, Siddharth, if you want to cover a whole bunch more, you can book a consult as well. Samrat says, to apply under CEC, does the 1 year have to be with only one employer, or it can be multiple? Great question. Multiple. It totally can be. So let's see which one I have here. There, I think it's CEC. So this can be totally with multiple employers. In all honesty, if you had 12 different employers and you worked for 1 month for each, you could totally do it. The only requirement is that the work experience has to all be encompassed within the last 3 years. Paid, skilled, full-time. It just continuous isn't a requirement. And it doesn't have to be all. It doesn't even have to be all in the same knock, which is another thing people don't realize. It can be different positions as long as all the positions are actually skilled. Okay, Linda says, can you help me to go to Canada? Linda, if you want to book a consult, we can talk about your possibilities. I can't personally sponsor you. I can't offer you a job. And so there's limits to what I can do to help people go to Canada. I can direct you to asylum or refugee, options if you're in a vulnerable position. But other than that, I'm an immigration lawyer. Okay. MD says, hi, Mark. I want to know how immigration check work experience. I have experience letter, pay stubs, offer letter. If my boss refuses to verify me, if an immigration officer emails or calls. Good question. So essentially, in those circumstances, I would definitely provide an alternative. So I'd put in your letter of explanation that your boss is not cooperative, is not happy, or at least your previous boss. Right now you said your boss, so I'm assuming you're currently working there. I would put in a letter of explanation that they don't really know, if they've given you the experience letter, they should know, unless, I don't know why they would sabotage you, but if they did and you're afraid of it, I would write in a letter of explanation that, yeah, they could do that because they don't want you to leave and are trying to undermine your ability to immigrate to Canada. That happens. And maybe you have another person that you can put in the letter of explanation that the immigration officer could talk to if they wanted to verify. Okay, Raman says, hey Mark, glad to see you are feeling better. I am indeed. Would you share your perspective about the EE future after elections? Will it get tougher? That is something that I actually can't answer. And well, I shouldn't say that. Okay, let's put it this way. Over the last few years, there's been a ton of refugees that have come through the process as a result of some of the policies of our current Liberal government. The Conservatives are not as open and facilitative in terms of the numbers of refugees that are coming into Canada. Now, ultimately, the number of refugees does not affect the economic programs or how many economic immigrants are allowed into Canada. Those levels planning are done well in advance and they're locked in. But because the Conservatives tend to be more, and I shouldn't say this, but they tend to be more business focused. One of the things that we've had in discussions with the critic for immigration, Michelle Rempel, you can clearly see that they are proponents of the foreign worker program. They understand that businesses need foreign workers to be able to succeed. And they understand that economic immigrants also are filling those spots, those important positions. And so I don't have a lot of concern about the Conservatives if they're elected in making sweeping changes to express entry. I really don't. I think the reason they're getting tougher, at least in terms of eligibility, is because everybody's trying to come and study in Canada. And when you study in Canada at a 2-year program, you can get an extra 15 points. If you study at a 3-year or more year program, you can get up to 30 extra comprehensive ranking system points. And that goes a long way, especially if you're an individual who's sitting at 430. Then you come to Canada, you go to school, provided you aren't losing a bunch of points for age, because that's a factor. Once you hit 30, you start losing 5 points every year until you hit 40, where you start losing 10. So individuals, that are coming and studying, they're the ones that are driving the CRS scores up. So people that are not currently in Canada, that don't have Canadian work experience or study experience, it's becoming more and more difficult to qualify. So will the scores continue to go up, 470, 480? It's hard to say, but it's not really the politicians that are making those calls. It's the quality of applicants. All right. Mohammed says, whoa, that's like 100 extra points on skill transferability. Also, will it be a problem if my spouse is not accompanying me because of her mother's illness until proper care is found? I've submitted the last 10 years of my mother-in-law's medical history and a doctor note. Is this sufficient? 100%. You probably don't even need to do that. You don't need to provide any other explanation why your spouse isn't coming. You just list them as non-accompanying. And hopefully you provided their immigration, medical, and police certificates, which are mandatory, regardless of whether or not they come. All right. Shaz says, hey, Mark, is work from home or work from your own place is considered full-time if it's paid, and also the employer declares it in the reference letter. Shaz, it all comes down to whether or not IRCC believes you're actually working continuously. And whenever you're self-employed or working freelance through Fiverr or whatever, those types of work experiences are really tricky to prove. And they're the ones that give the immigration officers the most challenge, because the rule is 30 hours per week, full-time continuous. And when you're working from home or there isn't other methods of proving it, it becomes difficult. If you have a reference letter from an employer who confirms that, then that's going to go a long way to actually proving that. If there are other evidences of your hours and the employer can prove that you were paid, if it was on an hourly basis, that makes it easy. Payroll records show that. Whether you're sitting in the office or sitting at home doesn't really matter, but you really got to work hard to prove it, Shaz, and it's tricky. Okay, Nelson says, hey, Mark, what's the cost of your service for a spousal sponsorship? As non-accompanying, my score is 485 and 454 with accompanying spouse. I don't see the passing, anytime soon, 454. What do you think? I agree, Nelson. I'll be honest. Coming and then sponsoring your spouse after may be the option for you, because it's going to be hard. I don't see it. At least I don't, but I'm not I can't say exactly what's going to happen. Maybe the government realizes that there aren't as many people that are immigrating, and they need to do a big scoop, a big draw, and it drops down to 450. It drops down to 440. I don't know if that would happen, but you know, it's entirely possible. So making that decision to list your spouse as non-accompanying can be challenging because you can't really change midstream. If you say they're non-accompanying and you get your ITA, you can't really add them on easily. We'll put it at that, easily. If your score that you were drawn on, and this is and I don't want to spend a lot of time, it's hard when we do these because every person's question is so specific to them, and I try to do things that is broad as possible. But so Perez, when you look at that, Roberto, when you're sorry, it's Nelson I'm talking to here. Sorry, when you're trying to factor it in, you take a chance, right? So in your situation, 485, you know, maybe you proceed, and then with the spousal, how much do I charge? Well, generally speaking, when I'm doing a spousal sponsorship, I charge $5,000 Canadian, and like I have on my page here, if I go back, you can see I've got a special section that talks specifically about Canadian permanent residence. So sometimes people just want me to review their application, which is the most popular, and in those circumstances, I charge $2,500. For spousals, there really isn't much in terms of document review, so usually most people go with the 25 or just want total peace of mind and have me manage the whole process. So that's how it is, Nelson. And I always start with a consult so that I can make sure that I'm comfortable, that you're eligible, and that I can help you and that we're a good fit for one another. Okay, Roberto says, hi again, Mark, just to tell you that I applied while being in Canada. Yep, and then moved back to Mexico. That's why the delay. As far as a consult, like I said, you can just go right to my website, and there's links right here for how to book a consult. I will just post it right in the comment section, and then you can just you can leave your information right here, and then I will make sure that Stephanie gets to it tomorrow, literally, with all of you guys. The consults are super important, and I'll just share my screen once again. So this is the page right here, and then in the comment section, I've posted how to book a consult. Okay. Wow, I keep forgetting to switch. Sometimes I get on a roll, and it's like, I don't know, it's like we're all in the same room, and I'm just talking to you, and that's why this is so cool. But then I can kind of zone out, and I'm just talking, and I forget about switching back and forth. So my apologies for that. And we're really into overtime here, so I think I'm probably getting near the stage where I might have to pull the plug here. We're just about to an hour and a half, and nobody wants to sit through and watch an hour and a half of questions that are not time stamped. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, no one out there wants to go through and time stamp this. Although I did have someone on YouTube that was absolutely awesome and did that for me. At this stage, yeah. Okay, so I'll just zip through and just answer just a couple more questions. Okay, Sid is in Ontario. Okay, great. Samrat, yeah, thanks. Actually, I'm in Canada with open work permit with a Big Four. Oh, the Big Four. Okay, and have received an interest from another one of the Big Four, so I was a bit confused as to if that would hamper with CEC. Thanks for clearing it out. You bet. EY, PwC, Deloitte, KPMG, those guys are the bane of my existence sometimes. Okay. Siddharth says, please save this video for future. I want to see this live video again. Please, really worth watching. Okay, so Sid, this is for you. And just so that you guys all know, at this stage, I don't have the ability, I don't think, to post live to YouTube at the same time, which would actually be cool. Maybe I can. I haven't checked this new Pro feature, but I'm going to share my screen here, and then I'm going to go to, type in here, Canadian Immigration Institute. Let's see if it's still linked. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. I'm going to go to YouTube. That's where I want to go. And let's see if I can find it. Okay. Is this me or is this a different old one? Yep, that's not it. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Let's see if I can just search for Canadian. If you search Canadian Immigration Institute, I have so many different profiles that it's crazy. So this is the last one. So we'll go here and then hey guys, I will go back to the main screen. Okay, so this is the site right here. And this is where you go, hey, we've got 15,500 subscribers. Great. So this is where you can go and access everything. It's all here. It is all here. Oh, and hey, this is funny, guys. Take a look at this. Let's see if I can blow this up bigger. Maybe I can. Big as possible. Okay, check this out. Okay. So here's the difference between me and 2 weeks. There's me right here on the right. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's pretty funny. This is me eating too much fatty food, I guess, and having too much weight. And then this is me 2 weeks later, finally back after losing my gallbladder and dropping 20 pounds. So actually, I've been continuing to lose weight because I'm trying to make sure that I'm just at a much healthier weight. But I thought that would be pretty funny to show you guys. See, everybody can poke fun of each other. Anyways, so all of these videos are all here. You can go back and watch all of them. And this one is no different. I will post it up on the Canadian Immigration Institute, and you can go back and watch the recorded feed. That's funny. It's all good. If you can't poke fun at yourself, what's the point of even living? All right. Let's see. Okay. Lonry says, I applied in January 2018 under the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program, EE program. Up until now, my application is improved under put. Can you please assist me in what to do? Lanry, I have no clue what you're asking here, my friend. You're going to need to book a consult. I'm not sure what the issue is. Luciana says, will that affect citizenship applications where the time in visa is used to prove time in Canada? Okay, well, that affects citizenship applications where the time in visa is used to prove time in Canada. I'm not quite sure, Luciana, what you mean by that. Qualifying for citizenship, you can use previous time on a work permit or a study permit that you've spent in Canada. You can count it as half time towards the 3-year requirement. So basically, if you're in Canada on a work permit for 2 years, you can count each of those days as half days, accumulate that 1 year and add it to the 3. And so when you apply after you become a permanent resident, you really only need to have 2 more years as a permanent resident before you can apply for citizenship. Okay, Lonry says my application is under PIU, Prince Edward Island. Okay, I think that's what you mean. I think. Yeah, a little bit confused there, Lonry. How long is the confirmation of permanent residence usually valid for? It's usually valid remise until the expiry of your 1 year after your medical. That's usually what it is. Okay, Mohammed says one more, Mohammed. Wow, you're getting a full consult here in a live Q&A. Okay, so on the police clearance, I've taken one for UK, but it's 11 years ago. Do I still submit it? Only the current local PCC is fine. You just get a new police certificate. You don't need to submit old ones. A new valid current police certificate is what you do. Siddharth says, am I eligible to bring parents to Canada on a super visa? Well, sure. Like, it's not based on your permanent status necessarily in Canada. In all honesty, parents and grandparents really need to be able to support themselves and show they have sufficient funds and that they have a home to return to and that they have ties to their home country so that if they come to visit you, it's truly temporary and they will go home. All right, let's see. I think we're just about done. Siddharth says, thank you, sir. You can hire me as I am good in social media. Thank you so much for the offer, Sid. I appreciate that. Okay. Gerjant says, I just mentioned the experience on my work permit for CEC, but not on the study permit in the same company on reference letter. Will it be fine? I can tell you, Gerjant, why you don't include work experience. Like, I just had a consult today with someone who made that mistake. And could it be a problem? Yeah, it could, because it could be seen as misrepresentation. Nelson's laughing, and we're just at the end, guys. Nilesh says, hi, Mark. Hope you're feeling better now. I am, my friend. I want to know if I get a certificate of qualification in waste management. Will I get 50 points in EE profile? I'm planning to apply under CEC. Thank you so much for your help. That has nothing to do with the 50 points. So certificate of qualification in waste management, the extra points that you're looking at depends on the years of program. If it was a 2-year or less, then you get 15 points. If it was 3-year or more, you can get up to 30 points. It has to be at a designated learning institution. And yeah, it has to be obtained. Yeah, and you have to be able to prove it. So you have to have actually attended and been on campus. So yeah, that's the scoop. All right, guys, I am going to, Mohammed says, thanks for your support. Okay, Ephraim. Okay, Ephraim is the last one I'm going to answer. Full stop. Okay, he says, I'm Venezuelan passport. Oh boy, Venezuela, that's a tough situation. But haven't been there continuously for more than 6 months and over 15 years. Also worked in Costa Rica for 3 years, but never lived there continuously for 6 months either. Will I need police background in these two countries? So, Ifrin, you'll remember the instructions say 10 years. You have to go back 10 years for police certificates for countries that you lived in for at least 6 months or more in a row. All right, so Ifrin, based on what you've told me right here, I have to assume that the answer would be no. But you need to carefully review the express entry instructions for police certificates to make sure that there isn't something that I'm missing. Okay. All right. Sid says, thanks so much. Nilesh says, thanks. Rebecca says, thank you. Thanks so much, everybody. You guys are awesome. I am so excited because tomorrow, exactly, well, it'll be earlier than 12 hours from now because I am going to be picking up a friend at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I am going to, Mohammed says, can I still book a consultation despite the time difference? Of course. Yeah, we'll work it out. It's not an issue. All right, so I'm going to close the comments because I have to focus here. Tomorrow, I am actually taking my faithful steed, Joe the horse, and I'm doing a 3-hour-long horseback ride into Grizzly Lake in Alberta. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm not sure if, let me see if I can just share. Okay, those of you guys who are done, your questions are answered, you're happy with what I've shared with you. Remember the express entry guide that I have now within my new platform right here, the Canadian Immigration Institute, the actual webpage. You can go and just type in Canadian Immigration Institute and it will take you here. And you can actually go to the guides right at the top and find the express entry guide. More are going to be released very shortly. But when you go in, last reminder for those who've jumped in late, you can go to the lifetime access. Remember, click purchase guide. And then if you type in the code EEDIY50 and apply it, you'll get 50% off. Bonus for all of you guys. Okay. For the rest of you who are just wrapping up, I'm ending this. But if you don't want to see what I'm doing in the next couple of days, then you can tune out now. But those of you, sometimes people are interested in what I've got planned, and so tomorrow I'm going on this awesome long horseback trip with my faithful steed Joe the horse. And I don't know if I actually have any images of Joe that I can post here. Let me just see if I do have any that I have posted. Okay, there was that. I don't see any Joes. I don't see any recent ones of Joe. Anyways, doesn't matter. The reality is I'm going to share my screen here. And like I said, those who aren't interested, you can tune out and stop watching. That's totally fine. But I just wanted to show you what gives me like the ultimate satisfaction in Joe. So we are going to Grizzly Lake, Alberta. And it is, wow, it's a long trek. So here's a picture. Let's pull this one up here. South Fork Mountain to Grizzly Lake. Okay, let's see if we've got this view. There it is. Look at this sucker right here. This is where we're going, and it's going to be absolutely awesome. I am so excited. So this picture on the right that you see here, I don't know if I can actually pull it up or if it's going to be even bigger. Oh yeah, Peaks and Streams, he posted this. Yeah. So yeah, that's let's see who posted this. I can't remember. This was McMurray, I think. Anyways, so we're gonna ride into this lake, and there are nice brook trout in there. And when you have basically a 3-hour ride in, I think it's maybe 10 kilometers, 11 or 12. I can't remember how far it is. It's quite well, it's longer than that. Yes, it is. But that's where the fish are. And so I'm gonna pick up my friend at 6 a.m. Then we're gonna drive to Pincher Creek and meet another friend at 7 a.m. who's bringing the horses. And off we go with a bunch of other people. And I am so looking forward to it. It is going to be just awesome. So I'll take some video and I'll post it maybe tomorrow, on Thursday, maybe when I get back to the office. Then I'll post some pictures, and you guys can, and maybe I'll even throw in a little bit of video. Maybe we'll see some bear. Totally possible. All right. Okay. Every Tuesday at noon, Mountain Standard Time, right here, same place. Hopefully noon, not 5 like we have here, is when I'm going to try to do it. If you do have questions, remember. So I see here, Simran says, one question, please. I'm actually past the questions place. Moraine. Yes, Rura, Moraine Lake and Banff. At the end of the week, at the end of the month, we're actually going to Yoho. Hey, why not? We're having a conversation now. This is just for fun. This is, we're done answering the questions. We're just a bunch of friends talking about the cool things in Canada. So we're going to go to Yoho. Let me move this out of the way so I can see what I'm doing here. Yoho National Park. And this is, yes, Emerald Lake and Lake O'Hara. These are just absolutely beautiful. So there's Emerald Lake, and I don't know if I can get a better picture, but it's just beautiful. So crystal clear. We were trying to get up here to another beautiful lake called Lake O'Hara, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to make it, but it is so beautiful. So this is the Parks Canada site here, and I'm not sure if I can blow this up even bigger, but that's where I am going at the end of the month. So trying to book a trip, bus only, a day trip up there is like impossible. We tried to do that. It didn't work, but it was just beautiful. So that's where we're going at the end of the month here with my family. And I know that you guys have really, really cool places in your countries. And, I welcome you to post the pictures here too, within the comments, if you have the ability to do that, because it's just inspiring to see how beautiful this world is, to see all of the unbelievable, amazing places that you can go. And, all of us, sometimes we get so caught up in just living life that we forget to look around, see what's really important, see all this amazing world that God has created. And, there are fewer places that I feel closer to God than when I'm out riding in the mountains, far away from civilization, and just feeling the amazing spirit that's there. So anyways, I think I'm going to call this to an end. I've got probably a family that's wondering where I am because it's 6:50 and I didn't tell them I was going to be staying here doing a video. But thanks for tuning in, all of you guys. I want to express a sincere appreciation for all the participation. Hopefully it was helpful. And like I said, you can watch it on the Canadian Immigration Institute. I'll post it there. And I'll be back next week or sooner if I feel like I have time to jump on. All right, guys. It was a pleasure connecting with all of you. This is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, signing off and wishing you guys all the best as you navigate, one crazy world called express entry. But hey, it's the whole Canadian immigration system. Take care. Bye.